Hi guys, welcome to another edition of All Things Football. With me today, I've got Arish and Jason. They were with me when we had our last recording some 6 months ago. It was our record best views in terms of viewership. We had 981 views to date. So thank you guys for joining again, and hopefully we can reach those numbers. We'll get close to it on today's episode. But today we're going to be discussing the top four and the race for that Champions League positions. So firstly, welcome, gents. Good to have you again. And how are we feeling? I don't want to really touch on Arsenal because I know you guys are both hurting from Arsenal. So I'll try and stay away from that conversation. But how are you guys feeling?
Good man. I think I'm probably hurting more that it took you 6 months to actually get us back on here. But besides that, yeah, I think it's okay. I think we had set out, and I think it's almost might be a bit of a cop out now, but we had set out to get Champions League, which we have. So I've made my peace with whatever could have happened in the last month or so. But yeah, otherwise really good.
Arish, how are you doing?
Hi everyone, and thanks for having us back. Yeah, I think from an Arsenal perspective, we're not going to say I told you so, but we knew City's going to go on some run at some time, and it just happened a bit later than what we thought, and Arsenal actually hung in there for longer than we expected. But it's still an achievement, and I think it's still something that we are proud. And also, I think Arsenal, it's part of the process. We are moving forward as a club instead of stagnating or going backwards. So, yeah, I think 6 months ago, if we were in this position, we probably would have bitten your arm off. But where we are now, we are quite happy.
Yeah, that's 100% true. Context is always very important, and especially at the beginning of the season, if you put that context into it, it definitely makes for a good season, and Arsenal can be happy with it. Although it could have been even better, but I think reality is that this Man City side is one of the best that's going around. So you have to also put that into perspective. So well done to Arsenal. We'll talk about the race for the top four because I think that's got a lot of interest with regards to Man United fans, Liverpool fans, and now Newcastle fans as well. How do you guys see it going? Liverpool have made a great comeback, 7 wins in a row, and all of a sudden, from being not in contention for Europe, they've now secured Europe already in terms of Europa League. It's just a matter of if the others slip up, they'd be there to potentially get a Champions League spot. How do you guys feel with regards to Liverpool being back to their best in terms of consistency? Because obviously for the whole season they didn't really have that consistency, but now they've clicked into gear and they look like a really well-oiled machine like they used to in seasons gone by.
Yeah, I think I can go. I think it's good to. I wouldn't say good to see. I mean, it's something that we expect of them. They've obviously set themselves such a high standard over this last few years, and I think going up against City, you almost have to be near perfect. And I think this season they were not at the level that the fans have grown accustomed to. But it also just speaks to that end of season mentality that both City and both Liverpool have. It's like when they need to click into gear, they have this next step that they can actually step up to. Which, I mean, as an Arsenal fan, maybe we didn't have that. Maybe we haven't been in that position for so long. But yeah, I think Liverpool have done what they needed to do. They've got the wins where they needed to, and okay, maybe they can look back and be upset in certain games that they've thrown away. Maybe it could have helped them, and they wouldn't have been in this sort of a scrap. But I think as a neutral fan, like watching this running now, I think it's actually quite exciting. I think they'll give it all, and yeah, they've got so many people leaving, so it would bode nicely to maybe get Champions League and then maybe try and incorporate all of the new guys after some of the older guys and some of the dead would actually make their way out. So yeah, it should be exciting 2 weeks.
I think I saw a stat earlier that the last 10 games Liverpool have got 23 points. And obviously that's very impressive with 7 wins in a row lately, included in that 10-game run. But what surprised me is when I looked at that table, it was on 22 points in the last 10 games was Newcastle. And I think like a lot of people said, we had a bit of a wobble in terms of our loss to Arsenal, our draw to Leeds. But if you look at it, in our last 10 games, we picked up 22 points. So I think there has also been that consistency from Newcastle. And And it capped off last night with a very important win against Brighton, who are very, very good. They beat Arsenal just a few days ago, and they have that ability, Brighton, to upset any team on their day. And yesterday, I think Newcastle handled that pressure of needing to win because of the pressure that Liverpool are putting them under, and also because obviously Brighton are a good side. And I think they handled it perfectly. They first half, their press was as good as anyone I've seen this season. They put Brighton under immense pressure, and Brighton kept trying to play out from the back, but losing the ball due to that press. And I think they did exceptionally well. And the performance last night capped off what's been a great season, in that whatever they've done, they've really just blown the opponents away, especially at home. And so for Newcastle, I feel personally, as a Newcastle fan, I feel we've got that top 4 spot now secure. 69 points. Liverpool can potentially get to 71, but I don't see Newcastle either losing against Leicester at home on Monday night, or collectively not getting 2 points from Leicester at home or Chelsea away. So I feel that that top 4 from our side is secure. There is another team in it as well. Arish, Manchester United. They've been poor away from home, but they've secured, or almost secured, top 4 through sheer brilliance at home. Old Trafford has been a fortress, and they have 2 home games remaining. If they win both of those, that would also secure them top 4. How do you see Manchester United in terms of their season? They've been so excellent at home, but away they've not been as good, but they've still managed to get top 4 just because of how good they've been at home.
Yeah, you just said it now. They've been a bit poor away from home, and at home they've been really hard to beat. I think a lot of teams have found that way, even Arsenal. But if we look at it from a perspective of their last 3 remaining fixtures, obviously they had that game in hand over Newcastle at this point. They are playing Bournemouth away, and that, I think, can be a stumbling block and allow Liverpool back into the top 4. Apart from Chelsea and Fulham that they have at home, I expect them to pick up a result there. Chelsea's been poor all season. We know they've picked up a couple of results recently, but on the road they've not exactly impressed as well. And then Fulham, one of those teams, they can pitch up on the day, but it is Old Trafford at the end of the day. So I think last night's victory actually for Newcastle has changed a lot of the dynamic. We obviously see, I say Newcastle, all like you just said, they're almost confirmed top 4. I think the balance will lay in whether United can pick up a result, I'd say, at Bournemouth and at Chelsea. The Fulham game, not too worried about, but if they are able to pick up at least 2 wins there, they should have then secured top 4. But I think for both Liverpool and United, like Jason has also mentioned, it's nice to see the exciting part of the top 4, the running for the top 4. We know Spurs has dropped off, and as well as Brighton, but we also need to keep in mind that these Liverpool and United's in a rebuilding phase. Liverpool has gone through a lot of rebuilding as well, and also their seasons were plagued with injuries. So there were times that, if they had fully fit squads, I think there would be a lot more, they'd be a lot more solid in terms of where they are on the table at the moment. But I think where United and Liverpool find themselves now, it's probably doing justice to how their seasons have gone. So yeah, I think from my side, probably United and Newcastle got it secured. Liverpool is a bit too little, too late. But it's a Premier League. We never know what can happen.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, just as you were saying there, Rish, I was just saying, like, I'm not saying, but I was just thinking, like, Chelsea on their day could possibly turn up. But also I think you were saying that I think Bournemouth, Chelsea, and then Fulham as well. I think United might go into it as more of a, okay, let's try and pick up as much steam as possible. Obviously, knowing that they have FA Cup after the season's done. I think it's the 3rd of June, if I'm not mistaken. So you're going up against this super team. So I think these three games, maybe I think they've got a few players that have come back now. I think Rashford was pictured in training and stuff like that. So it would be a good time for them just to get that last final prep in, But yeah, definitely, I think it's exciting. But honestly, I don't think I can draw a line in the sand and say this is going to happen. Like, I think anything can happen, and that's what's been shown in this Premier League now. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, 100%.
I think whenever there's a title race or race for the top four, whatever it is, there always seems to be one last twist, and I don't know. I think there could still be one more. And if you look at it, like if United don't win tomorrow, Manchester United don't win against Bournemouth away, not always easy. So if let's say they draw that game, they then go to 67 points, and if Liverpool win their game against Aston Villa tomorrow, they'll go above them. Also on 68 points, I think, but in goal difference, for example, comes into play, and I think Liverpool's is better at this stage. So then all of a sudden, that Chelsea game at home becomes a vital game, because then United have to get a result in that game. And I think perhaps then just being out of the top four for that few days perhaps could add, significant pressure. And all of a sudden, if Chelsea get an early goal, you just never know. So there could be another twist. We just don't know. I think that's the beauty of the Premier League also. So if teams don't pitch up on the day, the other team invariably will get the win. So, anyone on their day can get a result, and Chelsea, Bournemouth, and Fulham won't be easy. So I think, let's see, there could be one more twist. But what I want to do just before we wrap up this show, I just want to also touch on the relegation battle, because we've got 10 days left of the season. This is the business end of the season. So I think it would be unfair not to talk about, the battle at the bottom. With regards to the table at the moment, Leeds and Leicester are in that bottom three. Southampton confirmed as being relegated. I'm quite disappointed in that, because I feel Southampton was always such a well-run club. But all of a sudden, a couple of decisions where perhaps they made the wrong decisions in the recruitment, perhaps in manager changes and things like that. And all of a sudden, they've continued where perhaps last season they were on a bad run and just avoided relegation, and this season it caught up with them. So just want to touch on the bottom three. Do you guys think that Everton, Nottingham Forest could still be dragged into it, or do you think that Leeds and Leicester are now doomed, given that Leicester, for example, have Newcastle away as one of their last games of the season? So who do you see as being real trouble, being in real trouble for that matter?
I'll go first on that. Yeah, I was just thinking of that. Like you say, Nottingham Forest is they're above the relegation zone at the moment. But if we just look at what their goal difference looks like, it's already significant that if they don't pick up results in the last two games where they play Arsenal and Crystal Palace, which is highly likely. Arsenal's probably hurting from not winning the title. You can potentially want to put on a show for your fans in the last 2 weeks. And then also Crystal Palace have shown quite a strong resurgence as well. So I think from a relegation battle perspective, if I'm looking at it, Leicester are slightly more in trouble, as well as Nottingham Forest. I expect Leeds with Sam Allardyce there. Usually a lot more compact with his managerial style. I know they play West Ham away and Spurs away and Spurs home. But they are capable of picking up results. We've seen that throughout the years. Everton, they are Wolves away and playing Bournemouth home. So Everton also find themselves in a bit of a spot of bother. But I would say Leicester and maybe Nottingham Forest in trouble. But potentially Leeds could be going down as well. So then we might see Nottingham Forest being safe. So it's open at the moment because they all have tricky fixtures. I think their away games are probably the most important games for all teams at the moment. So if I would go with my bottom three, I'd say Southampton, Leicester, and maybe Leeds. But it could be between, if I look at it again, between Leeds and Nottingham Forest. I think that's the tipping point.
Yeah, I think when you look at the bottom three, also I think points on board is always very important, because sometimes you could fancy for example Leeds to get a result against West Ham, but there could be an early red card, or a penalty decision or injury or something that just throws the team off on the day, and all of a sudden you thought that was going to be a 3-pointer, and something goes wrong, and all of a sudden you lose that game, and the margin for error now is so small that anything that goes against you could be fatal. So I think points on the board, and I think that's where Everton and Forest have the advantage now because they are out of the relegation zone. And so a win for them all of a sudden puts the other two under immense pressure. So I back the teams who are currently out of the relegation to remain out of it. For example, Everton have played really well. Their win at Brighton was one of the best performances I've seen from a bottom three team in a very long time. So I think they've got enough quality and they're playing well enough to get over the line. And I think Forest, because they've got that gap over Leeds, that buffer, as you say, I think they'll be okay as well. So I think the pressure is on Leicester, and I don't see them getting a result at Newcastle. And for them to even take it to the last day, I don't see that happening. So I think Leicester are doomed. And I think Leeds will have to pull something out of that, which I don't see happening. They've played well under Sam Allardyce in the 2 games, but it's, I think, also a bit too little too late. Jason, what do you think?
Yeah, no, just I mean, circling back, right, and not to make this all about Arsenal, but I'm happy that Southampton's gone. Because those guys would take points off us consistently. But that's not, I mean, if we replace that with a Burnley or like a Luton, I think that's already 6 points that we must give away. Yeah, I think I have to agree with you guys. I think Leeds and Leicester are probably in the biggest sort of danger, just because they don't look like they have anything left. I think when you're scrapping from like the very first week and you have to do it for 38 game weeks basically, and you're just fighting for everything, it obviously will take its toll. And I think Everton had a bit of a period where they were up and down, and then like you say, they have come into a bit of form. I think Forest against Arsenal, I'm hoping that they're not getting anything, but with that assembled squad, I'd hate to see it go down, because I mean we've seen that time and time again. It's actually like they've got so many winners in that team, right? And maybe it's not the right setup for all of them, but I think it will be. I think they have enough to actually keep it up. So I'm going with Leeds and Leicester to actually go down. Although I wouldn't mind Everton going down as well, to be honest, because I'm also, it's like, if it's not where they take a 1-0, they injuring up, they just, I don't know, man. It's like, what is the purpose? I mean, I understand that they're there for a long time, and if you have Everton fans, I really am sorry, but this is like, they just like that Sunday league team that just kicks everybody off the park, and then they somehow manage to stay in the league. So yeah, I wouldn't mind them going down either. But yeah, it's gonna be sad to see Leeds and Leicester potentially go.
Yeah.
If I can add to that quickly, Wasim, sorry. We need to keep in mind also Leeds and Leicester both play West Ham, and West Ham have just qualified for a final. We don't know what their priorities will be in the league. Obviously, they don't want to pick up injuries to key players now. So although, Leeds are playing West Ham away, that could potentially be, where West Ham decide, okay, we're going to put the brakes on, some of our key players, just get them some rest. And then maybe for the last game of the season, bring them back and get them some match fitness. But I think West Ham have a key role, part to play in this entire relegation battle. And that is something, and I agree with you, Jason, from an Arsenal perspective. If everything goes down, we're happy with that, because the record at Goodison Park, I think, for the last few seasons has been pathetic. I don't think we've picked up many points there, if any wins, actually. So, if they could go down, we're not complaining.
Wouldn't be mad about that,
Yeah.
Same, yeah. I think if I look at our injury list at the moment, Sean Longstaff picked up an injury, and he's a key player for us. He picked up an injury against Everton, and it was a horrible tackle when I look back at the replay. So, yeah, Everton are a team that I also wouldn't mind seeing go down. I think they've been there and thereabouts for quite some time without actually going down. I think now is the time that it would be nice for them to go down, and I wouldn't mind seeing a Leeds stay in the league, given their history and fan support. So I think I wouldn't mind there be another twist to the tale and Everton perhaps being dragged down into it. But let's watch and enjoy the last 10 days of the season. I think on the one hand, I'm excited that the season is coming to a close and, the positions are being confirmed. But on the other hand, I think it's also been a fantastic season of football, and a bit sad to see that it's ending. But I think we've got some good games still to look forward to. I think the Champions League final is going to be exciting as well with Man City. Can they do the treble? I think that's going to be a big question on everyone's mind. But yeah, I just want to thank you guys for joining. Enjoy the race for the top 4 in the relegation battle. Unfortunately, Arsenal couldn't keep the title race going to the last, but I think it's a fantastic effort from them to take it. I think it was 35 games. You were still in the shot of winning the title. So I think that's a remarkable thing from you guys, and credit to you. And I think next year you will be even stronger. So it's going to be a good off season for you guys, and hopefully it goes well. But thank you guys for joining. I hopefully have another episode not so long in the future.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Okay.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Cool, thank you.